Good morning, all. This is Jack from Charting the Markets, and this is the Bigger Picture webinar for the morning of Wednesday, the 21st of January. My disclaimer, I do this for educational purposes only. I'm here to share my technical analysis with you. I hope you can take some of what I'm doing, learn from it, transfer it to your own charts, and not here to issue trading signals. Just as I'm starting, I was at the last one on Monday night. I was talking about the buy signals that had fixed, and you can see there are no buy signals here. And this is the same on ES, NQ, RTY, which I'm not sure about RTY, and YM. But basically, I have been mentioning those. I've been having some issues with futures data, but basically that divergence was moved up here. And I don't know, they're messing around. And I have to say, I could see, well, if we keep having this kind of issue, I might actually look at changing my futures platform, but it's kind of annoying. But this is the sort of thing I'm talking about when I think strange things are happening with my futures data. That's the sort of thing I'm talking about. I think they're making changes to the system. I think mostly those changes have been good ones, but I'm a little concerned about that. All right. Anyway, moving on. So we have no buy signals on ES, NQ, RTY, or YM. We've seen decent moves down. We could have set up buy signals, but we haven't. Because we didn't get a retest of the lows in time, or indeed at all in most of the cases here. We're forming possible head and shoulders on RTY. On YM, we've got a double top which has broken down with a target in the 48.080 area. That is a very attractive target, as that is also a possible head and shoulder neckline. We had a buy signal on DAX that failed, and we got a buy signal on ESTX that didn't fail. But I'm still wondering if it might. In terms of the bigger picture, we've got from the November low, we've got rising megaphones on ESTX and DAX, and both of those broke down yesterday. DAX more convincingly than the one on the ESTX. All right, let's have a look at the bigger picture charts. Okay, Right. On ES, you can see that yesterday's move basically retraced half of the move up from the November low. And I've got this as a separate little rising wedge here. I do not have an overall pattern changed from the April low, and at the moment we've got a pretty decent looking potential level top that could break down. Probably it might require Trump to invade Greenland, but as that looks like a very real possibility, I'm definitely keeping that in mind. SPX, pretty much exactly the same. Got pretty close to the 3SD lower band. Wouldn't be a bad time to see a bounce, subject to news. No current divergence, but we're now at the stage where we could be setting up with a rally and a retest possible RSI 5 buy signals. On the hourly chart, no current divergence, but we do have quite a lot of divergence on the 15-minute chart. Some nice 15-minute buy signals brewing here. So not seeing much sign of a big rally overnight. We're up about 10, but I am wondering about a rally here. Looking at the Qs, we pretty much made it down to the 3SD lower bound. That closed yesterday at 606.42, and the low was at 607.05. Again, not a bad place to see a rally, subject to news. And again, we could easily set up a buy signal with a rally and a low retest. I think one of the big questions about this week is how crazy is the American administration going to be? Now, they are pretty crazy, and obviously, I read a lot of stuff, and with the pardons, they're saying, this is a great year to be a convicted fraudster in the US. It really is. So, as long as you're happy to toss the Trump campaigns fundraising apparatus a sizable bung, as long as you're not a small deal criminal, you're looking good. So, Greenland. The Europeans, I don't think, are going to back down here. So they see themselves as allies, maybe vassals, but not slaves. So they're not going to back down on Greenland, and I'm thinking this could launch a trade war. This could be very, very bad for the market, awful for bonds, and very bad for the economy, both in Europe and in the US, because the US is vulnerable here, very much so. And if Europe starts selling off bonds and equities in the US, then, to be honest, US dollar currency status could go. interest rates in the US could go hit 9-10%. I've got patterns suggesting that has been a possibility, and this is the kind of circumstances under which I was thinking it was very much a possibility. We could see a serious block in the ability of the Americans to borrow money without any realistic plan to pay back the money at some stage or get the budget deficit under control. We could see some real trouble out of, because you can't get everything you want by bullying, and Trump is a bully. It's the way he ran his businesses, and it's the way currently he's running his country. All right, so apart from that, though, on the hourly chart, I do not have any kind of topping pattern on the Qs. If we were to see a big decline, then that could easily be fixed just by coming down to a head and shoulder decline and forming a head and shoulders. But at the moment, I'm not seeing anything, and I'm wondering if we could be looking at a larger flag here. We could see a big decline if that was the case. The obvious trend line would be this one here, and that would be coming down into a level in sort of 570, 571. I am wondering about that, and certainly this stuff about Greenland, this could cause massive trouble. I'm thinking he'll probably taco about it. He's got form. He's done it before, and it is utterly stupid at the end of the day. But there's the possibility, of course, that he might not, out of arrogance, vanity, or whatever. Both of which he has plenty of. Okay, in terms of the 15-minute, again, very nice looking positive divergence on Dyer. Dyer, clear break below the daily middle band yesterday. Again, we could set up the RSI 5 sell signal there has reached target. Looking at the hourly chart, we've actually got bit of positive divergence on both the RSI 14 and the RSI 5, and a lot of positive divergence on the 15-minute. Again, wondering about a bounce. Nice looking double top here. It has broken down. I haven't drawn in the arrows here. I'm mainly watching the futures one because they're pretty much identical. But it's an attractive target, and I'm thinking whether or not we see a rally here, I'm thinking we've got a pretty good chance of making that. All right, let's have a look at the IWM chart. Okay, IWM has been the strongest, and it's got nowhere near the daily middle band. Why is it the strongest? I don't know. I mean, there's just rotation maybe, but there is the thing that people are thinking that there's a good chance of interest rates coming down this year, and this is the most sensitive to interest rates. Personally, I don't think that stacks up. I don't think if the Fed starts cutting interest rates aggressively that it's actually going to necessarily have any effect at all on bond yields. And the borrowing is based on the bond yields, not on the Fed rate. And I think on the bigger picture, there is an argument that it's kind of overvalued here too. I mean, IWM started this process. I think this low here was at like 22. Do I have a number on that? Maybe a little higher, but it's now up at 270. Is it looking obviously undervalued? Not in my view. So that's where we are on the daily. So we've not seen a lot of decline there. On the hourly chart, no current positive divergence because we haven't retested this low yet. On the 15-minute chart, we haven't got any divergence there too for the same reason. Does this look cooked in terms of pattern setup? Maybe. Because it could be that we're overthrowing this trend line here, which I've drawn in, but it's not a great looking setup. Looking at DAX, nice move down, broke down below daily middle band, and Nikkei hasn't broken the daily middle band yet, but I'm wondering, but this doesn't look like a double top, and I've got no obvious topping pattern here on DAX either. All right, great. Let's have a look at the dollar, which saw a very strong move to the downside. Now, one thing to mention, in terms of looking at the other currencies, EURUSD, nice rally here. It looks like a bull flag forming at the moment. GBP/USD has broken down for a double top. Wouldn't be surprised to see that double top fail. But I have to say, what the administration is doing at the moment, this whole Greenland thing, is very dollar negative. The dollar dominance and the dollar as a reserve currency is very dependent on big trading partners agreeing to use it. If we're going to start seeing some serious trouble and an actual real trade war between Europe and America, one of the first big weapons they can do is actually seriously undermine the US as the reserve currency. That could obviously cause a big decline in the dollar. So I'm bearing that in mind. USD JPY, this looks like a bull flag forming. USD CAD, Big IHS has broken up, smaller double top has broken down, waiting for resolution. But I think at the moment there's a good argument for the dollar going lower. Australian dollar looks like it's coming back into a retest of this high. NZ has already retested this high, and this double top has broken down and it has failed. So hang on, I'm just going to write that in. All right, moving over to the bigger picture charts. You can see on Monday I was talking about the possible RSI 5 sell signal that was brewing on the dollar, and you can see that's just made target. So that is gone, but we've seen a decent break below the daily middle band, and I'm very much wondering when this might go lower, although at the moment this could just be a 50 back. My main concern is administration Greenland, and basically it being the dollar being shot in the belly by the administration itself. UUSD on the daily chart, we had an RSI 5 buy signal brewing and all fixed, and that has now made target as well. Not a lot to see on GBP. USD JPY, not a lot to see there either. I am thinking in due course we're probably going to come back and retest this high here at 162. USD CAD has broken down, hasn't quite reached the possible, well, it's reaching the possible near miss target. I'd ideally like to see it go a little lower and test the daily middle band. On Australian dollar, RSI 14 sell signal is fixed, only a weak one though. NZ, not really telling us a lot, although this original IHS which broke down has basically reformed as a larger IHS. Not as nice as the first one, but I'm wondering whether that might possibly break up, which would be a good match with obviously the dollar going down. All right, let's have a look at bonds, where we saw a very decent move, which took this bear flag megaphone, made the target at the retest of the low, and potentially is breaking down towards the already existing head and shoulder target in the 112.04 area. I'm liking that target, and actually we're halfway there. From this high here at 1618, more than halfway there. I think that's looking pretty good. And ZN, we had a bearish triangle here. So wait a second, my trend line has moved. So we that broke down, made the target of the retest of the low, and is looking pretty good as well. So that is, we've got an existing target down in the 110.17 to 110.12 area, and that again is looking pretty good. Tiny bit of positive divergence here, might see a rally. Hasn't been enough for me to mark it in. All right, looking at the bigger picture on those. Hang on. Okay, TYX. TYX, we have seen a spike up. We've already got an IHS target up here in about the 50.2 area, and I think that's looking pretty good to make target. On TNX, TNX, we've got an IHS which has broken up with a target in the 44.3 area, and again, that is looking pretty good. Looking at FVX, we've got where we should be on the way back to triangle resistance here, which I've got in about 43.8 area. TLT, we've got a head and shoulders, which is broken down with a target in the 84.7 area. And again, that's looking pretty good. So all of these are on track. None of these look finished. We do have some buy signals here brewing on the hourly chart, waiting to see if those deliver. Okay, let's have a look at oil. Okay, looking at CL, we have a head and shoulders here which broke down, and we've now got, that's failed almost immediately, and we've got a double bottom which is broken up with a target in the 61.4 area. I'm quite liking that to make target. HO, we are continuing higher after this IHS made target. We're still technically on a 60-minute sell signal, which hasn't failed, but it's not showing any signs of playing out. RBOB, we had a head and shoulders form here. It never broke down, so it hasn't failed, but it does look as though it's going to be coming back in for a retest of this high here, just over 1.87. NG, wow, what an amazing move. That is in 2 days. It's basically gone from 3 to 5. There's no other commodity you can see this happen, really. Wild. So all of this move down here has effectively been reversed in 2 days. That is most impressive. And if we continue higher and make a higher high, that's got implications. So we'll talk about those on the bigger picture chart. Let's have a look at that now. Okay, looking at natural gas. This is only a lot of that gain was overnight, so we've come back to the 200 week moving average, and we've broken above it, and we're getting pretty back towards this the retest of this high. And if we do get back there, then of course I've still got open targets that I was expecting not to be reached, but they're still there. Now I've got an open target here in about the 5.8 to 6.1 area, and at that stage, maybe we'll make them. And I have to say, it's been a hell of a road to get there, but we'll see. But it's coming back on the table. I am frankly somewhat amazed. We had an RSI 5 buy signal fixed there as well, and that has now made target. So nice wedge. I'm very glad I called this just before it broke up a couple of days, because that has been a peach. All right, looking at oil. Oil, possible double bottom here, and it's testing resistance. We're also testing the 200 DMA, so this is a significant level if it can break and convert this in a big way. I was talking about the possibility that this here is a potential larger double bottom that on a sustained break over 78 could get to 100. I'm going to be writing a post on that. I'm not seeing any obvious reason why that should happen, but sometimes the reason arrives after the pattern. So we will see. We had an RSI 5. Sorry, we've got a possible RSI 5 sell signal brewing here. Sorry, I marked that in incorrectly. So we will see whether that delivers anything. But heating oil at the moment, we've got a possible overall IHS here, and it's nice. We may be heading back up towards that. Looking at gas oil, no current divergence. Not seeing an awfully large move off the low. Testing the 50 DMA, I'm wondering on all of these whether we might be starting a significant move up. Not seeing any reason for that, but the pattern setup is encouraging. All right, looking at GC, which has made a new high. Silver hasn't managed to get over 95 yet, holding that as resistance at the moment. But at the moment, we've got some indications that we might see a retracement starting soon. But in the short term, I've still got targets higher. I've got a palladium target up in the 2010 area. I've got a platinum target up at a retest of this high here, and we've made it pretty much, I think. Hang on, let's have a look. Now, again, this is one of my charts. You can see the arrows don't quite match. This is one of my charts where the data has changed since I drew them in. But that actually, in terms of retesting this high, which was higher, and you can see because it was there, because that's where I drew the arrow, but not a lot higher. But in terms of where it is now, that is actually pretty much made target. So we've lost that target here. Palladium we've still got. Silver, I'm wondering if it's going to have a stab at 100, and it's pretty close now. HG, we've still got a very nice looking double top, and that hasn't broken down yet, but might well obviously be going to do that. Okay, let's have a look at those on the bigger picture charts. Okay, looking at copper first. Copper, we had an RSI 14 sell signal fixed, and we still do. And we've got an RSI 5 sell signal fixed, and we still do. Now that RSI 5 one, we could just continue going down slowly and make target on that. That's unlikely to be the case on the RSI 14 daily sell signal. This double top is just this tiny little bit here, but obviously we could be making a significant high here. All right, looking at gold. Gold, we've still got a possible RSI 14 sell signal brewing. We no longer have one brewing on the RSI 5. That has powered up and is looking very nice. We still have quite a lot of negative divergence on the weekly chart. In terms of silver, still got quite a lot of negative divergence on the weekly chart and on the daily chart. On both the RSI 5 and 14, and I haven't marked it yet, but we've got a possible one forming currently on the RSI 5 as well. On palladium, the question is, if we were in a normal move on the metals, I'd be looking more for a retracement here. But the problem, this kind of wild move that we've been seeing over the last few months on the metals here just goes through negative divergence a lot, and you see the full signals fix, and then they fail a lot. So I'm skeptical. Really, I think we'll have a clearer. I think it's going to be easier to tell that a retracement is coming a couple of weeks after it started, as we form possibly the next triangle, because it's been doing that on the way up. In the meantime, I I think saying it will stop here would be liable to get pretty expensive. All right, looking at platinum. Platinum's still leaning towards seeing a retest of this high, and that's the high on spot, and that's not close to making target yet. Looking at GDX, still got a lot of weekly negative divergence. We're powered up, and I think we've finally made it. Yes, we've finally made it over this high here at 130.80. Quite a lot of weekly negative divergence, not really much on the others, and I would be not standing in front of this particular trade. Okay, let's have a look at the other commodities. Now, KC. KC looks like it's on the way back to the retest this low and may well just be continuing lower. Sugar still likely forming a bear flag, possibly has broken down from it with a big rally afterwards, but either fixed or forming. On CC, we have continued down, and if you could see my face, you would be seeing my unastonished expression. Wasn't surprised to see this. I was saying it may well just continue down, and that's what it's doing. Looking at CT. CT, we've got a nice looking double bottom that's broken up. Still consolidating. This looks like a bullish triangle or a bull flag at the moment, and it may well be one. Looking at lumber. Lumber, where we've stalled a bit, and there's 60-minute sell signal fixed. I'm still liking this double bottom target in the 643.25 to 646.5 range, but I would note that on the bigger picture, the setup is clearly bearish. On ZW, nice looking double bottom, which is thinking about delivering, although normally after a rejection like the one we saw here, rejecting basically 75% of the way back, normally we'd say the retest of the low next, so we may see that instead. Corn, this looks like short-term bear flag forming. Soy, nice looking double bottom, and I got to say, soybean oil has already had a very decent move up, and looks like it's forming a bullish triangle to retest this high and possibly go higher. Live cattle, nice looking wedge, nice looking double top, hasn't really been delivering, but I'd quite like to see a back test of the monthly pivot at 227.08 at this stage. On HE, we have no current divergence. I've drawn in, I don't really have a resistance trend line for this yet, and I'd like to get one. I've drawn in a possible channel resistance, which is purely hypothetical at the moment. We will see. All right, let's have a look at the other commodities. Okay, coffee. Coffee, we've got a double top, which is broken down, and it's a nice double top. We may be heading down to resume the march to this target here in about the 2.65 area. And we have a possible large double top, which is possibly a little too large. Looking at the daily chart, no current divergence. Looking at sugar, obviously we've got this open target down here at head and shoulder target at 9. And we've been waiting quite a while to reach that. And it might take another year or two. Sometimes it does. No divergence on the weekly chart, no divergence on the daily chart, apart from this weak RSI 14 buy signal that's fixed. I'm not really seeing any compelling patterns here, apart from the head and shoulders with a decent target down at 9. So I'm thinking, in the absence of other evidence, I'm leaning towards that. Looking at the monthly chart on cocoa, we are continuing down into lower lows. This was a wild move out of the longer term range on cocoa. And we are moving back towards that range at the moment. So I don't know if it's going to make this target here at 1500, but I wouldn't be surprised to see it reach get to under 3000 area. So that's the kind of area I'm thinking this gets to. On the daily chart, buy signal, no. Is there any positive divergence? No. Looking at wheat. Wheat, no divergence here. Wondering about possible retest of these lows here. This double bottom was very nice, but looks as though it is failing. Looking at corn, keeping an open mind, we've got a very nice looking double bottom here. I'd like to play this out at some point. Wondering if it's going to play out in our lifetimes at the moment, but it's just I'm being a bit impatient maybe. But it would be nice to see a move up toward which gets us within striking distance of the double bottom resistance of 504. Looking at corn. On the daily chart, no current divergence, but if we see another low retest, we could get some RSI 5 positive divergence. On soybeans, again, we broke up out of the flag, and we're back in. We're kicking around the daily middle band at the moment. I don't think there's been an awful lot of change in terms of Chinese buying. I've not seen anything, so we'll see. Looking at the daily chart, no divergence, and the RSI 5 buy signal has reached the possible near miss target. Looking at cotton, very nice looking double bottom. Again, not really doing anything in terms of moving towards it. Lumber, we've seen a nice little rally, but this is what I was talking about on the lumber chart. The overall picture here is a bear flag. We've got a double top within that bear flag, which is broken down with a target a lot lower, and that target is at the flag target, which is at the retest of this low here at 35250. It's a compelling setup. It broke down quite a while ago, and it's been doing very little since. So, but it's still a very nice looking setup and a compelling target. And sooner or later, I think it's going to do that. So we'll see. All right, great. Let's have a look at crypto. So here, everything's on track. I think I was talking on the last one, but basically, if not, I was talking about it on the pre-market video on crypto yesterday. I don't think I'd drawn this in yet, but this is the idealized bearish triangle on Ethereum, and the next target was to reach the trend line here, and that's been done. And ideally, it would basically see a rally here, 3200, basically just needs to stay under 3400, this trend line here. But this would be A, B, C, D, partial wave E, and then down. Retest this low here at 2621, very possibly resume the move down to the head and shoulder target in the 2050 area. Really liking that. Bitcoin, we have a bear flag, and that is now starting to break down. That should take us back to 80.6 and possibly a move down into bigger support at 74.4. On Solana, we broke up over the double bottom, and that's failed much of the way back to the lows. Thinking we might see a bit of a rally here. The sell signal made target on the daily RSI 5. We've got an RSI 14 buy signal fixed on Solana here. I'm thinking we might see a bit of a rally. Then we see a retest this low here at 116.85, and then I'm thinking probably resume the move down to the head and shoulder target at 95.24. So that's where I'm looking at the moment. So everyone take care, and I'll catch you guys again on Sunday. Cheers.